Hey, what's up YouTube? Today we're going to be talking about why do some foreigners actually hate living here in China, right after this intro. Hey, what's up y'all? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, I'm an American that's been living here in Guangdong, China for about 14 years now. And today we're going to be discussing why do some foreigners hate living in China. I myself, as I said, I've been here for 14 years. I actually love living here. If I didn't, I would leave. I would just go somewhere else. But I've came across many people who don't like living here. And I'm going to share with y'all why that is, like the things that they've said that they didn't like about it. So maybe some people can make some informed decisions about if they really want to come here or not. And if you are living here and you don't like it, then maybe you can think about making some changes in your life that'll make your time here in China much better. And as you can see, I'm outside today. It's a nice day. I decided to come out instead of stay in the house. I'm actually about to go get some lunch. I'm at the park right now, and I'm on my e-bike because traffic's really bad at lunchtime. So I decided to take the bike today. See us back here in the background behind me there. I'm at the park right now, just kind of relaxing in the shade. It's just really nice and sunny outside. All right, so the very first type of person I want to talk about who always ends up hating China are the people who try to change China and not accept it for what it is, right? You're in another country, you're not at home, okay? It's not gonna be the same as it is at home, all right? I used to work with this guy, this British guy, and he was my boss actually, and he's kept trying to force China to change the entire education system. And he was like the, kind of like the boss, and he was in charge of this kind of stuff, but the bosses above him, they weren't willing to make the changes, and he was so pissed off and so angry about it all the time. But you can't just walk into a place, another country, and expect them to change their entire way of educating their people just because you think they're doing it wrong. And this guy didn't know the language, he didn't know the culture, didn't know anything about China at all, and he tries to force the change on the entire system, and he absolutely had a horrible time, and he was always fighting with his bosses and always in a really bad, pissed off mood all the time because he tried to change China. Okay, this is another country, you're not going to change it. You got to accept it how it is and learn how to blend in and accept the way things are. So that's going to be number one. Don't come to another place and try to change it. Be open-minded and respect the culture and realize that you're not at home. All right, so another reason, or the second reason foreigners hate living in China is because they only eat Western food, right? Like some foreigners I know come to China and they won't even eat Chinese food. They only want to eat the food from their home country. And so what happens is, because some places don't really have a lot of Western food options, they end up going to like McDonald's 5 or 6 times a week, and they order stuff on the internet to try to cook at home. Then they complain about the price because it's imported stuff that they have to buy in order to cook their local food. And so they're always just eating the same stuff all the time instead of embracing being in another place and trying out the local cuisines. In China, there's so many different foods. I mean, you can eat different food every single day for an entire year, and never eat the same thing twice because there's so many options. But yet these people continue to eat the exact same thing all the time, and then they complain about Chinese food. It's too spicy, or it's too oily, or it's too this or too that. And instead of just trying it and trying all the different options until they find the ones that they like that suits their taste. These people are really going to have a terrible time in China, and they absolutely hate living here because they spend all their time and money eating outside. Also, talking about the food, I actually know some Chinese people who travel as well and go to other countries, and they literally fill up their suitcase with like Chinese instant noodles and stuff like that to cook in their hotel room or whatever, instead of eating the local food, the places they go. So Chinese people, some of y'all are guilty about this too. I know y'all are because I've seen y'all do it. So y'all need to embrace the culture of other places too when you go outside. Don't pack your instant noodles, eat the local food. Oh yeah, speaking of food, I'm about to go get some food right now. It's lunchtime and I'm hungry, so let's go. Okay, so the third type of foreigner who ends up hating China, we'll call this one the lonely Laowai, right? This is the person who only has foreigners in their circle of friends. They don't have any Chinese friends. And the reason this becomes a problem is because due to the nature of our work, right, we have like short employment contracts, and a lot of foreigners end up moving around all over the country to different cities and stuff all over the place. And so usually your friends end up leaving. And so you end up alone. And if you don't speak the language and you don't have any like local Chinese friends, then you're just gonna end up being extremely lonely with no friends to hang out with who have similar interests and things like that. And then you end up alone and bored and depressed and things like that. And a lot of this is due to not embracing the culture enough and not speaking the language and making friends with local people. So these people usually end up hating China and end up leaving just for the sheer fact of being lonely or depressed and not having people to hang out with. And a lot of these people I've seen actually, they go into having like drinking problems and stuff like that because their friends left, they get lonely, they get depressed, they start hanging out at the bar. Next thing you know, they're drinking all the time and things like that and end up quite lonely, depressed, and with a bad alcohol problem. And I see it all the time with foreigners, not just in China, but in other foreign countries as well. It's quite common to see this. So be wary of that also. Take the time to learn the language and to be friendly with local people and to make friends who are, locally in your area. So that way, no matter where you go in China, you'll be able to understand enough language to be able to have friends everywhere you go and you won't end up alone. All right, so the fourth and final one I'll talk about today is going to be the impatient foreigner. This used to be me, so I know what I'm talking about when it comes to this. But living in another country requires a certain amount of patience because there's going to be a lot of things that test your patience. Just an example from my life, when I was applying for my Chinese driver's license, it was like, 12, 13 years ago. They really tested my patience. I went to the police station, asked them what documents I need to apply for a driver's license. They told me like 2 documents. I went and got them, then went to apply for a driver's license, and the people at the driver's license said, no, you don't have enough. You need some other things. I said, what do I need? And you need to go back to the police station and find out. So I go back, they give me 2 more documents that I need. I get them. Next thing you know, when it's all said and done, I went back and forth 4 or 5 different times, took off work 4 or 5 different days, and I really just lost my patience and got really angry and said a bunch of bad stuff at the police station to the police officers that I probably shouldn't have said. But, these kind of things happen when you're living in a foreign country, and you really got to learn to be patient, especially when you're dealing with things like this type of stuff, like say immigration paperwork or medical stuff, insurance, banking, driver's license, all this kind of like government type stuff. It requires a lot of paperwork, a lot of red tape, and it requires a lot of patience to deal with because it's much different than it is back home, and it might not make sense to you, and it's really going to test your patience. Then also things like work. There's a lot of things that how they run the company stuff here. It's not going to sit well with you, and it's going to test your patience. A lot of those things have tested my patience in the past, and they'll definitely test your patience. So if that's you, you might want to reconsider, unless you can learn to, like I did, learn to calm down, relax, and learn how to be more patient. So if you know anybody who needs to see this video, share it with them, let them see it, like, subscribe. And this right here is what YouTube thinks you should watch next. So check that one out, and I'll see y'all next time.